Hello. Um, this is gonna look weird because I'm sitting on the floor of my closet in very dramatic downlighting. Um, it's probably gonna sound weird because I'm sitting on the floor of my closet, which is not a sound booth. Um, and my voice probably sounds weird because it's 4:11 a.m. Right now. Um, it is. It's 4:11 a.m. and I just looked at the clock/calendar part of my desktop on my taskbar and saw that it's the 8th. Tomorrow is my birthday, technically. Tomorrow is my birthday. Doesn't feel like it because tomorrow when I get up will still be the 8th, but 4 a.m. things. Um, this, if I do end up deciding to publish this to, my outlet really for video things, which is my YouTube channel, this is gonna be like, it's gonna feel very out of place, I guess, if you're just sort of watching and stumbling upon it. Um, and I don't know if I'll make it public or unlisted or whatever, but my YouTube channel has thus far been a very sporadic, very sparse collection of what started out as a variety of different content while I sort of figured out, like, what do I want to do, and, like, I started my YouTube channel when I was in my junior or senior year of high school. I think it was my junior year of high school. And I think it was like 2012 or something. And I had, I at least wanted to do the whole gaming YouTuber thing as like a hobby. I had sort of faint fantasy aspirations, let's call them, of maybe eventually getting a following and doing it sort of full time, and being very much like the I hate this, content creators, the people doing that. What from the outside looks very much like very little more than playing video games with your friends and then editing, or maybe eventually even paying an editor to cut down the footage of you laughing and having a great time, and posting it to YouTube and getting paid, and that's your job. That was, something that I fantasized about, as I think a lot of, for better or worse, spoiler alert, worse, what a lot of teenagers do, kids now probably too, do fantasize about doing that, and aspire to that. But even after, sort of getting over that, the idea that was going to be really something that I could pursue, or really acknowledging that that's not something that I had the self-discipline for, and learning, more just of that, the common sense outsider's perspective, even of the back end of that, of what goes into that, and the self-promotion, and, what's necessary, and following click trends, and, the analytics, and the whole thing. That was a pretty short-lived, I had maybe a year, if that, somewhere in there where I really thought that was something that I could potentially do. And that was in the midst of a tumultuous part of my own life and journey of, like, figuring out, am I going to college? Even while I'm in college, what am I doing? Figuring out relationships, figuring out career, like, it kind of seems silly on some level now looking back, but anyway, that's not what this, that's part of, I guess, it's a little bit of what this carries the thread, I suppose, of what I guess I intended to start recording this about. I just felt compelled to do this tonight. It's an echo of conversations that I've been having with friends of mine, people I'm close to, for a long time, but especially recently I've been having these conversations in a particularly intense and involved way, and more frequently it feels like, and making a concerted effort really to spread that thread of conversation around, and you know, am I even recording, by the way? I didn't even double check. It's been a minute. Yeah, I am. It shows how out of practice I am with my sort of video stuff. But yeah, the space that this will likely be posted to has up to this point consisted exclusively of what started out as that content, variety, figuring out what I want to do, and ended up being narrowed down into what felt the most authentic for me, which was just naturally playing video games with my friends, and maybe 10% of the time that we were playing something together, and even that's probably generous. I would stream or hit the record button or set up a thing if we were going to play Siege or play, something together that I thought would make, would capture some of the fun that we have together and the laughs that my friends and I have shared over the years and stuff. And like I said, 90 to 95% of that, maybe more, has been fleeting and not been captured. It's just existed in the moment, and then it's gone. And, we can reminisce about those moments and go back and laugh about them amongst ourselves when we remember them, but they weren't captured on video for the internet, for our own archiving purposes, for my own archiving purposes to go back and watch. Most of that will just never be seen by anybody, which I guess in the spirit of exactly why, or one of the reasons I wanted to record this, I've come to a point where, like, I no longer feel bad about that. I'm like, that's fine. That's as it should be. It's preferable, honestly. Just let things be what they are, not feel like I am missing out on documenting something. Anyway, again, I guess I tend to speak in tangents a lot of the time, but I had a hell of a 2022. Certainly, I would say tied for most tumultuous year of my life, tied with, I guess, probably 2014, when I was like 18 going on, and I was 19 years old in 2014. But yeah, super, like, the highest highs and some of the lowest lows for me, for sure. And sometimes right next to each other, and directly related always. But within that, it's a lot of things that I have been thinking about and mulling over it throughout my young adult life, through my 20s that are now, I'm sort of in, I guess, the autumn of my 20s now, since I'm going to be 28 in a day. A lot of those things that I've had, been thinking about and considering over the last 7-8 years, almost 10 years in some subjects. A lot of those things that I've been thinking about have felt like they've come to a head, really, in the last sometimes couple of months, sometimes over the last year. And I'm not going to go into detail on public record, really, about any specifics of, like, stuff that I've been through, but it's pretty normal stuff, I think. Not to say that any of it is to be taken lightly, but it's, when I say normal, I mean it's things that people go through, and relationship turmoil and heartbreak, and losing a parent, and thinking about things in maybe different ways as you are done being being close to being 18 and being close to being 21 still, and Now you're almost 30, and like all of these sort of crises happen. I mean, it's sort of a normal progression through life, but you only get to go through it once. And so like I can't, it's not like I can draw on previous experience of like, oh, I've done the almost 30 you know, thing before, and I've done this before, and I've done that before. These are new experiences by their nature, because you only get to do them one time. Anyway, again, the point being that I've a lot of these themes and things that I've been thinking about have come to a head, and a lot of them center around sort of a core tenet of like authenticity, of experiencing things authentically and trying to live an authentic, real life, and be as much of a complete, real person as I can be. And that has led me to experiences that have been wonderful, and other experiences that were wonderful and then were terrible, or vice versa. Like, you know, but the point being is led me to experiences. It's led me to experiences that have existed outside of the comfortable home base that I have always come back to, which is sitting in front of a computer or an Xbox or both, and playing video games and laughing with my friends. And that's, I'm thankful eternally for the opportunity to have had what felt like that safe home base for these years that I've had it. You know, it has allowed me, I'm sure, a lot of opportunity for growth, knowing that I can jump off from that point. But it reaches a point, I think, where when you become so comfortable and you've done something, you've done the same thing, and started to really use that thing as a crutch, or a replacement for going out and living a life, whatever that means to you, an authentic life, a real life, then that starts to feel like, as much as it may have given me an opportunity to do that in the past, it sort of flips on its head at some point and feels like it's, you know, starting to hold you back. Or at least it does for me. So, in direct response, I guess, to some of the things that I have gone through in the past year, to all of the things that I've gone through in the past year, I have decided to make a major life change. And I say decided, I mean, at the end of the day, it is my decision, but I really feel like I don't have a choice. It feels like something that I'm deeply compelled to do, and I can't see an alternative of, you know, staying here, going back to doing the same things after the year that I've had. I cannot go back to how things were before, and it's not to say I will become a completely different person and I'll be this unrecognizable, you know, being that has nothing to do with, you know, Nathan from you know, 2020 or 2021 or 2018 or whatever, but you know, I don't know, sometimes at the risk of sounding, I guess, kind of corny and coming up with an analogy or an piece of imagery offhand to describe it, it's like sometimes staircases have landings on them, and sometimes you have sort of vantage points where you can get to a point, you know, if you're going up or down a flight of stairs, and like you get to sort of a rest point and you can look and see how far you've come and how far you have to go, and you have sort of that spot, and that sort of feels like where I'm at right now. And it's different. It's not like just resting on a step. I mean, it is a platform, you know. I don't know if this analogy makes any fucking sense. But the point being, I am at a point in my life right now, where I feel deeply and immovably compelled to do something that will drastically change what my everyday experience is. And as my friends know, as I've talked to them about, as my therapist knows, that drive has been a move geographically, physically out of the space that I've been occupying. Not only out of my apartment, not only out of the area, not only out of the state, but out of the country, out of the continent, to the other side of the planet. So I'm moving to Australia. I don't know why I'm framing this like it's some big reveal thing. Everybody that's going to watch this video already knows this shit. And I guess that's, again, just at a quick tangent, like, this is not published for, like, any kind of, like, audience that I have. I don't have any audience on this channel. Nobody's watching this except for me, future me, probably at some point, which is primarily why I'm making it. That's, like, more than half of why I'm making this. I think maybe on some level I'm hoping that, I mean, I know that this will publish to the subscription feeds of certain people, and you know who you are. Who I talk, I mean, there's people I talk to every day, basically. But I think part of me hopes that maybe having this in this format will lend an air of sincerity that's hard to achieve when there's, you know, competitive Overwatch going on in this part of a Discord call and dick jokes in this part, and I'm sort of here, like, with feet in both but neither, and, like, also trying to sometimes have, like, really earnest conversations and, you know, and sort of squeeze that in. So I guess just to clarify, why do this? But anyway, this is already probably like a 15-minute fucking video. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. It's fine. Point being, yeah. So I'm leaving. I'm moving to Australia. It's a place that I've always wanted to visit. It's a place that I've always wanted to live to some degree. There are, I'm sure, mini DV handycam tapes or something somewhere buried of me walking around the house as like a, you know, 5-year-old or younger, doing like a Steve Irwin accent and talking about Australia stuff. And it's a place that I got to, very fortunately, got to visit recently and see. So I'm not going to go into detail about what exactly I'm going to be doing, because I think that would sort of go against the spirit of exactly what I'm talking about. But suffice to say that, and again, for the people who are watching this know what I'm going to be doing and are more than welcome to, if they're not clear, if they're curious about specifics, or like ask me about it. They're people who I will be in touch with to some degree, like keep contact with and like update on how my life is going down there. But so I'm not going to go into like, I'm going to do this, this, and this. What's more important is that it won't be what I've been doing here, expressly so, and I need to not let it become that. And so to that end, like, this thing that has been just sort of a place for me to like throw some of my like creative side, or creative, you know, little side occasional hobby of like a few videos a year of my friends and I playing video games is not really going to be that anymore, at least for the foreseeable future. Maybe at some point in the future it'll be that again. But if, I think the thing that has changed is that if it never is that again, that's an idea that used to really kind of scare me. Just the change of that was scary, of what that means, of the implications of that. And that doesn't scare me anymore. I'm cool with that now. With the idea that, like, it doesn't have to go back to being that again. I can just let this change happen, and whatever, like, comes out the other side of this, if there is an other side, right? Whatever that is can just be, and that's fine. I will maybe film, I have been thinking about documenting my actual travel process as I go, as I make my way from here in Denver to Australia, to where I'll be living. I've considered continuing to use this outlet as a creative space for other like video based endeavors, because that's a lot of where I feel creative, is like, you know, making video stuff. But I just want to make stuff and like live. And that's kind of the gist of it. There's, you know, there's more, and I'm sort of internally debating right now how much more I want to go into. How long is this already? I guess I shouldn't worry about it, but God, 20 minutes, yeah. So that's the gist of it. There's a lot of... I'll keep it to this, I guess. There's a lot of... I feel almost hungover. But rather than from, like, alcohol, I feel sort of hungover from taking in, like, media. Like, screen-based, like, shows and videos on YouTube largely, and, like, video games and Discord. And this is coming from somebody who already made a conscious decision to cut social media entirely. Like, when I say social media, I mean, the things I rattle off are still a social form of media, I guess. But I'm talking about, like, social networks, so like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and I never was on TikTok, but, like, all of those things, those have gone by the wayside for me. Like, that was something I cut out of my life, like, a few years ago at this point, like, 3-4 years ago at this point. Fully, that was like the last of it. It had already been a trickle down from there. So when I say, like, cutting out, I'm burned out on being somebody that, like, consumes media. I'm like, I mean it. Like, I can't sit in front of a computer or a phone screen anymore without seeing myself from, like, third person view and just the glow of it, like, on my face, just alone. Just, and not because I'm somebody who partakes in, like, super parasocial relationships and super closely follows, this YouTuber or that online personality and is on their fucking subreddit or whatever. Like, I've never been that guy, but, like, I have followed, in my younger years up to not that long ago, really, like, reasonably closely followed, like, channels I'm subscribed to, like, watching a lot of, like, Game Grumps, or, like, before that, like, Achievement Hunter or whatever, and just taking in sort of empty content. Again, a word that I've come to really fucking despise because of what it has come to mean now. And I'm at a point now where all of that just feels super hollow, and meaningless, and like I'm wasting my time. So I have, as of now, until I sort of do what feels like starting the process of really leaving, 1 month, pretty much exactly. And I'm going to do my best to try and figure out ways to more healthily spend my time. I have a few books that I want to read, which is still consuming content, but it is different in some key ways, I think. And, I know I'm not going to get into perfect shape in a month, but I do want to start going to the gym, at least try to go every day. And, if I shoot for every day, then at least maybe I can land among, like, a few times a week consistently, hopefully. And looking forward to what this travel is going to be for me, while knowing and keeping in my mind, crucially, that whatever I expect it to be, whatever I plan to happen, is not going to be the important parts. It's going to be the parts that I don't expect and that are not planned, and when things go wrong, but, like, another door opens, and, the sort of branching pathways of it, like, that's the part that I'm really looking forward to, and that I can't look forward to in a way that involves spending hours and hours a day and night on YouTube, watching trip report videos and flights, takeoffs and landings, and the places that I'm going to be, and, like, what restaurants should I go to, and, like, trying to live vicariously through this consumption of media, in place of going and actually doing it, just as a form of biding my time and tiding myself over until I can actually go and do it. I'm looking for, I'm not worried, I'm not anxious about the things that could happen that are not to plan. I'm excited about those things more than anything now. And I think that's sort of the corner to turn for me. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully when I watch this back at some point, it still resonates and still makes sense. There are a lot of specific examples that I was sort of planning on talking about that now that this is a 25-minute video, I probably will not do. But I guess I want to summarize, at least one last idea that is very much a part of this sort of whole thing, which is I've, in the last year, I've had the experience of seeing people that I thought I knew become something else entirely. I guess to a certain extent, I've had that with myself. I've seen myself be capable of some things that I didn't know I was capable of, or maybe knew on some level and didn't want to acknowledge. But also outwardly, I've seen people that I grew really close to, like, just change very suddenly into someone else. And I just, again, why I record this at 4:30 in the fucking morning is I just was like laying in bed, watching YouTube videos, trying to fall asleep as I've always done, and like happened across a couple of videos that just really stung, about people behaving in certain ways, and I don't indulge in that content. They're just things that happen to pop up, and I don't know why I clicked on them, but again, the specifics are not important, but I keep thinking of this soundbite that I heard, and I think it's Henry Rollins, of Black Flag, and then many things after that. And I'm not, again, in the spirit of what I'm talking about, I don't follow his career closely. I'm not like a fan of his. I'm sort of done believing in the idea of being a fan, like as a thing that you can even engage in healthily. Certainly, at least a fan of a person. You can be a fan of somebody's artistic output, I guess, but different conversation. But like, anyway, the point being, it was just this one particular soundbite that caught me, and I remember hearing it. I think a couple years ago, but it's some interview that he did, and he basically, and I'm not going to get the exact word for word quote, but he was saying, like, I no longer feel capable of believing in the goodness, the innate goodness, or a capability for goodness in people, in us, right? In this collective sort of sense of like, people are good. And I never really believed that, I don't think. Certainly in my adult life, I've kind of held the belief that people are inherently neutral and make choices that make them good people or bad people at different times in their lives. But he was saying, like, he was saying basically, I'm done with this idea that we are even capable, that there's a we that is capable of achieving a collective, goodness or upward trend, in things. But that knowing that it's still each person's, it's whoever's listening, individual responsibility, knowing that other individuals are not going to give a shit necessarily, and most of them don't, and knowing that there's probably not this collective, positivity that people are capable of, that probably doesn't exist, sadly, or at least not to enough of a degree to fight all of the bullshit that comprises the rest of the world, and people taking advantage of each other, and power structures, and all these things, right? Certainly, at least in the postmodern society that we inhabit. But that an individual can still decide to be good in their own lives, and, as I said at the beginning, to loop it back, to live an authentic life as much as possible, to do the right thing when the choice to do so is presented to you. And it is a lot if you're paying attention. And that's like part of your personal responsibility is to pay attention. That's it. That's like the base of it, right? Is pay attention to the world around you. Like, it doesn't mean fret over everything that CNN or Fox News reports on, because that's kind of counterproductive. But quite the opposite is like, do good in your community. Like, you know, if you see an injustice literally happening in front of you physically, then you can do something about it. And do good for yourself, right? Like, try to find a way to accept the idea that you are deserving of your own, your own seeking of, I guess, justice or goodness or whatever, right? Too. So shrinking down one's life into being able to like live authentically, live for real, like just be like decent. And so obviously that these sound like very grandiose ideas for posting on a channel which, as I said, has up to this point been fucking around with my friends playing like Halo or whatever. And to a degree, like, yeah, they are. I understand that there's a level of absurdity to that. But behind those videos and that existence of fucking around with my friends playing Halo or whatever and posting highlights of it on the internet exists a real, like, whole ass human being that is me. And so I don't know. I think I just felt it necessary to sort of explain this moment. I could write these things, and I do frequently journal and stuff, but I don't really have a space to publish that, and those feel private anyway. And I wanted to talk in a way that was specifically carved out for knowing that this is going to go probably again on a publicly accessible space that I maintain and curate. So yeah, that sort of sums up my feelings. I have many more feelings than that. Those are not all of my feelings in general. But that's sort of the update, I guess. That's me right now at 4:42 a.m. on February 8th of 2023. So yeah, I am gonna figure out what exactly it is that I'm doing for the next month, and then I know what I'm doing after that, which is that I don't know exactly. I know generally. I have a framework, and we can fill in the sort of bricks and mortar as we go, and that's how I like it for now. That's what I want my life to be for now, for the time being. So thanks, whoever is watching this, of future me and a couple of select people probably. But yeah, I'm glad that I can do this, I guess. And yeah, let's see where things go. Let's see where things go.